Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going exploring ritual and magic.
Ooh.
We've got a whole stack of academic papers
Oh, wow.
taking us everywhere, from ancient Greece to modern Europe, even contemporary art and internet culture.
Wow, that's a lot of ground to cover.
It is. I'm excited to unpack all this with you.
Yeah, me too. It looks like these papers are all about how humans in different cultures and times have used rituals and magical thinking, just to try and understand and interact with the world around them.
Exactly. And we'll be looking at how these ancient rituals are still echoing in our modern world.
Oh, interesting.
Like, for example, we'll be looking at the practice of lovers attaching padlocks to bridges.
Oh, yeah.
You ever seen that?
I have. I've always wondered about that.
Yeah. It's fascinating how such a modern practice could have roots that go way back.
Yeah. And we're also going to be trying to define magic.
Oh, yeah. How do you define magic?
Right. Like, where does it intersect with religion or folklore, even psychology?
Yeah. It's a really fascinating area to try and study.
It is.
And also, by looking at a society's beliefs about, witches and supernatural powers,
Right.
you can really learn a lot about their worldview.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what were they afraid of?
Mm.
Were them beliefs just superstitions? Or do they reveal something deeper about human nature?
Yeah, those are good questions.
Definitely. Something to think about.
Yeah. And, it's important to remember that we're not endorsing any specific belief system here.
Right.
We're just exploring the human impulse to find meaning and agency, through ritual and magic.
I love that. Okay, let's jump right in.
Okay.
First stop takes us to the ritual year.
The ritual year.
Yeah. Emily Lyle,
Mm-hmm.
in her paper, lays out this framework of the Indo-European ritual year.
Okay.
And she argues that these traditions mark 8 key points throughout the year.
8 points. And what were those tied to?
Well,
Okay.
they were tied to both cosmic events, like solstices and equinoxes,
Okay.
but also the agricultural cycle.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, which, of course, was vital for the survival of these societies.
Right. Yeah. So their lives were really intertwined with the rhythms of nature.
It makes you wonder if we've really moved that far away from that.
You think so?
Well, we still celebrate holidays like Christmas near the winter solstice and Easter near the spring equinox.
Oh, that's true. Even though, the specific beliefs might have evolved,
Right.
that underlying connection to the natural world seems to still be there. It's
Yeah.
like those ancient rhythms are still woven into our lives.
Exactly. Speaking of which, Eva Johan Holland, in her research, describes this really compelling example.
Oh, what is it?
She was observing how farmers in northern Greece,
Okay.
they still carry out rituals to influence the weather,
Really? To influence the weather?
like their ancestors did.
Hmm.
Specifically, she was looking at the mountainous region of Epirus.
Okay.
And there, the farmers would place a skull,
The skull.
on a specific rock formation,
What?
believing that it could bring rain during times of drought.
Oh, wow. That's,
It's pretty powerful.
yeah. It's a powerful example of how these ancient practices can endure, even with all of our modern advancements.
Right. Even with technology at their fingertips,
Yeah.
these farmers still feel this need to connect with their ancestral traditions to influence the unpredictable forces of nature.
That's fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
So even if we don't believe in the same gods or spirits, are we still unconsciously participating in this ritual year?
I don't know. It really makes you think.
It does. And that leads us to another really interesting aspect, the presence of ritual and magic in our modern world.
Oh, yeah. And it's not just ancient history.
Right. It's not just hidden away in remote communities either.
Yeah, where is it?
It pops up in some surprising places, sometimes right under our noses.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Okay, you ready for this?
Oh, what the?
We found a fascinating example in the world of, wait for it, wine.
Wine! That's not what I was expecting.
I know, right?
Okay, tell me more. Well, Mochka Ramiak, in her research on Slovenian wine marketing, she really dives into this.
Okay.
She highlights the role of wine queens.
Wine queens.
Yeah, and how they use ritual and symbolism.
Okay.
A lot of it drawn from older traditions, to promote wine and wine culture.
Wine queens. That sounds fascinating. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a unique tradition. They're chosen through these regional competitions,
Okay.
often involving elaborate ceremonies and rituals.
Wow.
And then they basically become ambassadors for their region's wines. They incorporate these traditional elements into their appearances and presentations.
Oh, so it's not just about the taste of the wine.
Right.
It's about weaving a whole story around it,
Yeah,
connecting it to the history and the culture of the region.
exactly. It adds this whole other layer of meaning, and mystique. It elevates the wine. It's more than just a drink.
Right.
But Ramiak also brings up some really interesting questions.
Like what?
Well, are these rituals really authentic expressions of tradition?
Okay.
Or are they just marketing tactics designed to appeal to consumers?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's this fascinating intersection of culture and commerce.
It makes you wonder, where's that line between preserving tradition and then, commodifying it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay, where are we going?
Let's move from the vineyard to the kitchen.
The kitchen.
We found another example of ritual in a very everyday activity.
Okay, what is it?
Baking sourdough bread?
Sourdough bread.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Katarina Ek-Nielsen, in her research, explores this phenomenon.
Okay.
She focuses on how sourdough baking, particularly among young fathers in Sweden, has taken on this almost ritualistic quality.
Sourdough does seem to have that effect on people, I've noticed.
Yep.
It's not just following a recipe. It's about, cultivating this living starter.
Yeah.
Nurturing it, understanding its quirks.
Yeah, it's got a personality.
It really does.
Yeah.
And Ek-Nielsen found that for a lot of these fathers, sourdough bacon provides this sense of connection.
Okay.
Not just to the tradition of bread making, but also to a community of like-minded individuals.
It's a whole world.
It is. It's a way to slow down, connect with a tangible process.
Right.
Create something meaningful.
It's almost like they're transforming these simple ingredients into something magical through this ritualistic process.
Yeah, that's a good point. It makes you wonder what seemingly mundane activities in our own lives might hold that same kind of ritualistic quality.
Right. What gives them meaning beyond just the practical?
Right. What makes them special?
Definitely something to think about.
It is. Okay, so we've talked about rituals. We've talked about symbols. We've even delved into wine and sourdough bread.
We have.
I think it's time we address the elephant in the room.
Okay, what's that?
What exactly is magic?
Ooh.
How do we define something so slippery and multifaceted?
Yeah, it feels like we've been kind of circling around this question the whole time.
We have.
Like, what makes something magic?
Right.
Is it a set of practices, a system of beliefs, or something more fluid and personal?
That's a really good question. And it's one that scholars have been debating for centuries.
No.
And as you might imagine, there's no easy answer. The very nature of magic makes it hard to pin down.
Yeah, that's what makes this deep dive so interesting.
It really is.
Our sources offer some really interesting perspectives on how to even approach this question.
Yeah, they do. Well, we have Laurent Sébastien Fournier's work on the magic embedded in traditional games, which a lot of times involve, elements of chance and skill and ritual.
Yeah, like a game of chess.
Exactly. And then we have Kamila Velkoborska, her study on a contemporary neo-pagan group in the Czech Republic, where magic is really interwoven with their spiritual practices and worldview.
So it's part of their daily lives.
Yeah. And then we even have Igla Savikaita. Her research delves into the personal experiences of Lithuanian students who report encounters with the supernatural.
It's like ghosts and stuff.
Exactly. So, we're looking at magic through all these different lenses.
Right. We're going from history to anthropology, sociology, even psychology.
It's wild.
Yeah. It is. And, it's interesting because some scholars see magic as its own thing. Separate from religion or science. They might define it as a system with its own logic and rules, aimed at influencing the world in very specific ways.
So almost like a technology.
Yeah.
But one that operates outside of, our conventional understanding of how things work.
Exactly. But then other scholars argue that magic is way more fluid.
Right.
And really intertwined with other aspects of culture and psychology. They might see it as something that runs through all sorts of human experiences and motivations, like our desire for meaning or connection, or even control and understanding.
Yeah, so not a separate category, but more like a lens through which we can look at how humans have tried to make sense of the world.
And their place in it.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's not about being opposed to reason.
Right.
It's about how humans have always looked for a sense of agency and connection.
Especially when faced with uncertainty.
Yeah, or the unknown.
Totally. It's like those Greek farmers we were talking about earlier.
The ones with the skull.
Yeah, even with all of our technology and advancements, that impulse to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
To find meaning and purpose through ritual and symbolism, it hasn't gone away.
It's still there.
Yeah.
So instead of just, writing magic off as superstition.
Right.
Maybe we can learn something from it.
I think so.
Uh-huh.
By understanding those human needs and desires that drive magical thinking,
Right.
we might even find new ways to address those needs.
Yeah, in more constructive and fulfilling ways.
Exactly. It's not about, believing in specific magical spells or anything.
Right.
It's about recognizing this fundamental part of being human and what it can teach us about ourselves.
And our relationship to the world.
Exactly. It's been really great exploring all this with you.
It has. And we hope you keep pondering these questions, too.
Yeah, even after the deep dive is over.
Maybe think about your own life. Do you have any personal rituals that you see differently now?
Or have you noticed any magic happening around you?
We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, keep those brains buzzing.
And until next time, happy deep diving, everybody!